Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran, وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. What this means is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an established way of dealing with human beings. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established laws and how he measures and brings into effect in this world the things that he wills, either as a form of help or as a form of punishment. Okay? And so what I'm talking about here is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has priorities. Okay? And I really want every Muslim to think about this, and I mean especially imams and scholars. Okay? Because this is a major source of trouble in your community. It's a major source of failure. Is that you have allowed yourself and the entire community to be distracted in trivialities. Okay? And Rasulullah ﷺ himself, he asked Allah to save him from knowledge that was not beneficial or relevant. Okay? Now, the thing is that what I've been talking about in this entire series is that somehow the Muslims, and I'm talking about specifically Arabs and Daisies, who came to the West with thousands of your shuyukh and mawlanas, and somehow, in 50 or 60 years, did not yet figure out what you're doing, and actually ignored and destroyed the single, number one, highest priority in Islam. Okay? That means that in 50, 60 years, you wasted a whole lot of time in trivialities. Okay? There is no way that 6 million Muslims and thousands of shuyukh and mawlanas can spend 60 years and never figure out what the hell you're doing unless you spent all that time in distraction. Okay? Now, if you have studied Islam, then you know that fiqh is about a single question. Okay? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul, obey Allah and obey His Messenger, then the fundamental question that the Islamic sciences have always been about trying to answer is, how do we obey Allah? How do we know? Okay, and that is what fiqh is about, right? If you have studied fiqh, then you know this. But at the end of the process, when you have a list of ahkam, okay, rulings, this is fard, this is mustahab, okay, this is mubah, okay, then you have come to a set of priorities, and then even between those there are other priorities. Okay? Now, the thing is that in this discussion I've made it obvious that whatever you're doing is not pleasing Allah. Okay? Number one is the obvious. is that if your community ignored and destroyed the mission of Rasulullah's life, I guarantee you that Allah is not pleased with you. But number two is the obvious evidence. Turn on the news from the last 50 years or 100 years, and what you see is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending degradation, humiliation, mass destruction, mass poverty, mass death on the Muslims. Okay? Now you can't tell me that Allah is with you right now, but you also can't tell me that there is not a way to the help of Allah. There is, but you're not doing it. Okay? And it's because you spend day after week, after month, after year, after decade in trivialities. Okay? Don't do this. Because yani, you and every Muslim, and you have limited time. That has always been what fiqh is about. Okay? Is understanding what to do, what is the most important thing for me to be doing, okay, given the conditions in front of me and the fact that I only have so much time every day. When your time is wasted in trivialities, year after year after year after year, then that's how you spent 50 or 60 years and it just completely flew right by you. Your entire community in North America and in Europe, 50, 60 years, you missed the most important thing in Islam that is directly connected to the nusra of Allah, to the help of Allah. You missed it and destroyed it. Okay? It is directly connected to the ridda of Allah, to the pleasure of Allah. And your entire community missed it and destroyed it. Because the Mawlanas and Shuyukh waste the community's time in trivialities. Okay? Islam does not need all of your details. Islam needs you to use the brain Allah has given you and to use the actual rules of fiqh to understand what is important and what is not important. Okay? And really what you have right now, and I mentioned this earlier in another session, you've got 3 emergencies. 1, 2, 3. Every adult person can count to 3, can't you? Okay? Don't waste anybody's time on anything else right now until you get these 3 emergencies lined out. Number 1 is the converts. And I mean it is an emergency. Okay? From what you've done to the converts, you are on your way to Jahannam right now. Okay? There's a train going to Jannah, you're not on it. All right? You're on the other train. So that is an emergency. 2 is the youth and the young, disaffected Muslims. And number 3 is the dawah of calling the working class Muslim back to Islam. And I don't mean just calling them to the masjid. You have to call them back to the work of deen and teach them how to transform their lives until they are working for Islam. And I guarantee you, okay, that outside of tabligh, okay, most of what you're doing, it doesn't work. Okay, but tabligh has always worked. Okay, those brothers spend 2.5 hours every single day, and they've been doing it for decades. You need to think about it and figure out what's going on there, okay? Because it's right in the Quran. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Okay? So while these brothers actually work for Islam every single day, and they've been doing it for decades, your crazy people, including your shuyukh and Mawlanas, have spent 50 or 60 years in distractions. That is not hidayah. That is dalala. Okay? Wake up, and I mean like right now. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.